I, 25F, am not sure what to do after my friend, 25M, kept trying to cuddle me, and then started crying. I, 25F, have been good friends with Jack, 25M, for a little over a year. We met in school and started to share a lot of common hobbies and interests. It's pretty normal these days for him to come to my place, and mine to his, to hang out or play video games, and sometimes sleep over. A couple days ago we were doing just that. I was at his place playing a video game with him until really late. It had been planned in advance that I would sleep over, and normally when I do so I sleep on the couch in the living room while he sleeps on his bed. That night, once we decided it was late and we wanted to go bed, I went to the bathroom to change while he pulled out the couch for me. I expected Jack to go to his room after that, but instead he laid down on the couch. I asked him if he was going to be sleeping there, and he said he just felt like sleeping in the living room with me that night. The couch bed was big enough for two, and we'd shared a hotel room together before, so I didn't really think much about it. I'm a pretty light sleeper, and it can take a while for me to get to sleep in an unfamiliar place. That night, Jack fell asleep before I did, and I felt him inching closer to me. I assumed he was just moving in his sleep, so I scooched over and eventually passed out. I'm not sure how much time later I woke up again, because Jack was pressed up against me and was putting his arm around my waist. I'm not big on cuddling, and I was half asleep at the time, so I just moved over again and fell back asleep. This kept happening. Periodically through the night, I'd be woken up by him touching me, and then in my sleepy brain state I'd just shift over and drift off. Again, when morning came I was exhausted, and I was basically laying at the very edge of the bed. In hindsight I should have just woken up properly and left the room, or woken him up and told him to move over, but I was just too tired at the time to think about it. When Jack woke up he asked me how I slept, and I sort of jokingly complained that I couldn't sleep at all because he kept trying to cuddle me in his sleep. I genuinely meant it in a teasing way, not a serious reprimand, but I did say something like, "If you're going to sleep on the couch next time, I'm taking your bed." Maybe I sounded harsher than I meant to because I was so tired, but I wasn't actually mad at him for anything. Jack started crying, apologizing profusely that he had kept me awake. He said stuff like how he didn't mean to make me uncomfortable and he was so sorry. It took a while for me to calm him down and tell him it wasn't really a big deal, just something to look out for in the future. Jack and I are pretty comfortable with each other, and pretty casual with physical contact, in a strictly platonic way. I'm just a light sleeper and don't like cuddling. After he calmed down and apologized again I changed the subject because I didn't want him to get upset again, and we haven't talked about it since. It's been a couple days and it's still sticking with me. It just felt weird that he reacted that way, like it came out of nowhere. I want to bring it up again to him but I'm not sure how to do it. Or maybe I'm just overreacting. He said he'd be more mindful in the future and sleep in his own room, so I don't think the situation will happen again. But really, it's the fact that he started crying over it that bothers me. Any advice on what to do would be appreciated. TLDR, my close guy friend kept me up all night because he kept trying to cuddle me in his sleep, and when I joked and teased him about how tired I was he started crying. He apologized, so should I let this go or confront him about it? Edit. Just to clarify, both Jack and I are not straight. I didn't mention it because my concern was more over the crying thing than the cuddling thing, so I didn't think to bring it up. Our relationship has never been like that. To be fair, Jack's brand of not straight doesn't mean he couldn't still be romantically interested in me, so I will talk to him.
It seems to me that he's really not in control of his feelings about you, and that's not healthy for him or your friendship. He knew what he was trying to do and it was pretty slimy. I'm not sure whether his reaction was due to him being overwhelmed by the gravity of what he was doing, or a way to shift being blamed to being felt sorry for, but I think your focus should remain on his actions that night. Please reconsider the time you spend alone with him, and don't be afraid to let him know that you're making that decision for your safety.
Your friend is trying to make a move on you in the most dishonest, emotionally manipulative way possible. You are not overreacting. You should be livid at the way he messed around with, has serious misunderstandings about consent, and he's way too old to be behaving this, reacted appropriately leaving the couch. You were kind. I wouldn't have laid down to begin with. There are two beds. Go use the other one. He was clearly bullying you into sharing a bed with him without a transparent conversation. That's a way bigger problem than his reacted inappropriately when you called him on this very big problem he created. In a way that should tell you he cannot be trusted to behave himself in the future. At best, he has no emotional regulation. At worst, he's manipulative and needed to make it about his tears so you would ignore your valid. Be wise to confront him with the facts. Tell him that the friendship is platonic and that you will never, ever be sharing a bed with him again. Tell him if he ever wants to make a move on a woman again, he needs to use his words, and that he should never, ever, in a million years put himself in a situation where he touches a sleeping woman without her consent. He cannot accept the purely platonic friendship you are offering. You'll be ending that as well. There should be no second chances on this. He should feel like about what he did. Let him feel. Nothing else has a chance of getting through to him. It is way more important that he understands you than that he doesn't cry he does it again. Just get rid of him now. That would be 100% reasonable. I wouldn't keep a friend who did this to me.
Just reading this gave me a shiver of disgust. This is not a good guy. He was clearly making a move or something, while you were sleeping, no less. It's creepy and gross and crosses so many lines. If I were you, I wouldn't trust him. He sounds manipulative. I would at least stop spending time with him alone. I would guess he wouldn't react well if you try to confront him.
Your gut instinct is telling you something is off on his reaction because he reacted that way to brush over your discomfort. He turned your discomfort into making it about comforting him and to make you feel so guilty for upsetting him that you wouldn't complain about him behaving inappropriately the next time it happened.
Hun, he wasn't trying to cuddle you. He was trying to grope you. And I don't think he did it on accident, because he specifically slept with you on the couch instead of going to his own bed, like a person without sinister intentions would. I'd be wary of other ways in which he's trying to push physical contact onto you.
He feels guilty and ashamed of something. Don't fall asleep around him again.
Would he have tried to cuddle a male friend accidentally? Nope. He's a creep and cried to manipulate you when you called him out. What you should do is be grossed out and never spend the night with this creep again.
He thought things would just progress into in the relationship. He is not your friend, he's playing the long game.
He's trying to bang you at the least, but I'm guessing he wants a full-on relationship and is too scared to actually ask and get rejected. So he tried this hoping you'd reciprocate, and was crushed that he still ended up very rejected after the way he went about this was manipulative and cowardly. And the horrible communication skills coupled with him pressing it all night instead of off when you moved away. I think you're right not to even be thinking about dating this dude and committing to never sleeping in the same room again.
He was trying to hook up with you and tried to manipulate you by crying when you called him out. There is no reason to share a bed when there are two beds available. You should consider if you even want to hang out with him one-on-one again. He knows exactly what he is doing. He's not your friend. He's biding his time.
I think you need to cut out the spending the night together. There's clearly emotions building on his side, and yes, everyone is correct that what he did was slimy behavior. He has clearly gotten two best friends falling in love nonsense into his head, and is trying to force an emotional connection where there isn't one for you. The sleepovers need to stop entirely, moving forwards. And frankly, you may even want to cut down on the hangouts for a while, to make it clear that there is no emotion on your side, and that he did indeed cross a line.
My read? He wasn't asleep, he was doing it on purpose. He wanted to come onto you without having to ask or get consent and was hoping you'd either be into it or asleep and unable to stop him. He reacted that way because it wasn't an accident. He knew what he was doing and was confronted by the idea that there may have been consequences for him since you decided to bring it up.
He's crying 'cause he got caught, even if you don't realize was all on purpose. You guys aren't platonic. He's been waiting to make a not your friend. He never was.
I agree. He has feelings for you, but that's his problem, not yours. I wouldn't see him again after that. You've got to be wise and stay safe. Good luck.
I 100% agree with this.
I'd never stay friends with a guy who molested me in my sleep. All night. Gross and manipulative on every level. He's not your friend. He's just not.
Yes, this is all completely deliberate and it's creepy as.
Huge red flag when you confront someone about something and they start crying and making it about how upset they are.
I think you need to be a lot more concerned than you were and appear to be as a situation in which assaults have occurred in the past. I feel I should also point out that most assaults aren't committed by strangers. It's often friends of the victim, who the victim trusted with their safety and to whom they granted leeway. They wouldn't have given to anyone guy was clearly trying to initiate with you in a sneaky and coercive fashion. As an adult, he should have used his words. As the reply above yours said, in the very least, he should have backed the heck off the first time you moved away. He didn't. Instead, he spent the whole night pressuring them, immeasurably glad that nothing further said. He's shown himself immature, incapable of adult communication, untrustworthy and lacking respect for your right to consent. These are not minor issues. They should not be swept under the "you want to deal with this is up to you." I would urge you to be more cautious in the future. Ask what signs you might have missed he has more than platonic feelings for you. Consider what boundaries and behavior you might want changed. Then question what levels of trust to extend when and other precautions you might take with friends. Also consider how to become more alert to signs of trouble. His inappropriate request to sleep beside you when there was a perfectly functional option was a big red flag. Think on how you might navigate such situations in the op. I'm sorry your trust was abused in the way.
Greater than that night, Jack fell asleep before I did know he didn't. This was all intended. Rather than come out and say, "Hey, I like you, do you like me too? I'd really like for our friendship to progress to something more intimate, would that be something you're interested in?" He just wanted on the bed and feel you up in your sleep? This guy either has the worst seduction strategy in history, "I'm just going to lay on the bed with her and hope she's secretly harboring an unspoken passion for me that will come to light when I'm near her," or he was hoping to take advantage of you in your sleep. He was hoping that whilst you were unconscious and with your guard down, you'd let him do things, touch you, cuddle you, that you wouldn't let him do normally. No more sleepovers. And be frank, "You made me," and the crying asterisk is super weird. Again, it's hard to tell whether he had some insane idea that his seduction strategy would work, or whether this was just part of his manipulating you. Some rapists don't buy holding a girl down whilst she screams and fights back. They buy constantly wearing down her boundaries until she goes, "I don't want asterisk to have with you, but are so tired of saying no and stopping you from touching me and dealing with you giving me sad puppy dog eyes that I'm just going to let Jack just handle this situation really badly." Maybe he thought this would work and was humiliated when it didn't. But if that's the case, he will respect your boundaries. He will accept that you don't want to sleep over anymore, or that maybe the friendship between you has changed. He will not act like him crying is something you need to feel guilty about or make up for. But take some space from him. If he does anything asterisk, directly or indirectly, to make you feel guilty for doing so, then you know he's not someone you can trust.